What's good? What's good? What's good? Back with another episode of Over the Counter Podcast. We are the Good Brothers of OTC. How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
It's another interesting day in the market as always, man.
As always, it's never a dull moment in the markets, regardless of what market you're in, whether it's crypto, stocks, metals, real estate, what have you. It's always something going on. Speaking of which, man, we got the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve on the docket. Got to talk about the digital asset stockpile and the differences between the two. Um, Definitely want to touch on this Genius Act. It's a stablecoin regulation bill that was proposed a couple of days ago by Bill Haggerty. So definitely want to talk about that, especially before it goes up for markup with the Committee on the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. Then, of course, man, X under attack in more ways than one. But what's new? Cyber attack, major cyber attack was attempted on the X platform a couple of days ago. So definitely want to touch on that. Some Tesla stock updates. Definitely want to give you an update on this AI hackathon that I find very interesting. Tariff wars, of course, and then an overall market update is how we'll wrap things up. So, I mean, with that being said, man, let's get into it. Let's get into it. This this Bitcoin reserve and the digital asset stockpile. I'm honestly not surprised. I think a lot of people were disappointed though, regardless of what camp you're in. When it comes to crypto, I think some people were a bit disappointed, but um, I'm kind of man, not excited nor disappointed by it.
Not excited?
Not really, not really. Because it was an announcement of an announcement, essentially. Like they didn't have a real plan of accumulating more Bitcoin for the strategic reserve.
Mhm.
And then on the digital asset stockpile, the language, the way in which I'm reading it, it's almost as if they're gearing up to incentivize themselves to go after more digital assets through forfeiture. So I'm looking at people that's not paying their taxes when it comes to digital assets. So I definitely don't think that's a good thing in the long run. It just depends on how they approach that. 'Cause if you don't have any, if you're not planning on coming up with any means of accumulating more outside of forfeiture, then how? I mean, how do you go about accumulating more assets if you're
So,
not going to incentivize, you know,
so
that
have
type of
they,
stuff?
have they ori- so have they abandoned the original plans by Cynthia Loomis? Because I mean, how the original bill was structured. It sounded like they had a plan in the original bill we talked about last year. Have they pretty much abandoned that?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say they've abandoned it because the Bitcoin Reserve, they have a plan to accumulate more. They just don't know how they're going to go about it. I mean, they mentioned budget neutral methods, which just basically means a budget, a way in which does not affect the American taxpayer, meaning we won't be paying for more Bitcoin to be bought. So, okay, so if you're looking for budget neutral ways, what does that mean?
Do you think this is just coming at a bad time in which we got Doge and this big push for efficiency and really having a microscope on certain spending and trying to reduce the deficit? Do you think it's just coming at a bad time in the midst of all that when it's like, hey, if the big focus is on reducing spending, saving money, trying to figure out a way to get this deficit down, do we have the extra money, even like we talked about how a reserve is usually built. Do we even have the funds to do that right now in the midst of everything else we got going on, trade, Doge efforts?
No, that's
Oh,
a good point. Because, I mean, like you said, the whole purpose of Doge is to kind of cut wasteful spending. So I definitely would think that if they somehow allotted direct funds or direct means of acquiring more digital assets during a time like this, then of course people will have something to say. I mean, people are always going to have something to say, but I do kind of wish they took their time on the reserve and the stockpile, both sides, because they're definitely important. But if you don't really know how you're going to go about acquiring more, then I personally would have waited until I had that fully thought out. Now the Bitcoin reserve is cool. Like they have 200,000 Bitcoin to start with. So that's a good decent stockpile. And then the fact that that particular side of the bill had I mean, they basically wrote in that, we'll figure out ways to accumulate more in terms of Bitcoin. But in terms of digital asset stockpile, so that's assets that are anything but Bitcoin. So that's Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, that's anything other than Bitcoin, right? And I don't necessarily know if the United States owns those assets that I named off, but if your only, I guess, holdings of those um altcoins or coins that are other than Bitcoin have come from asset forfeiture. So, people doing illegal things, stuff like that. And you didn't write in that you plan on acquiring more of those assets outside of additional asset forfeitures. That kind of, to me, that sounds like they're positioning themselves to incentivize more an increase in asset forfeiture, specifically within the crypto space. Because how else does the government get more?
On to tack onto that, do you still feel comfortable with all of the assets that were included in the digital stockpiles? It's been a lot of talk, from different people, and they feel like Bitcoin. The sentiment is that they feel like Bitcoin should have been the only asset included in the strategic reserve. Do you still have the same sentiment or feel the same way that everything should have been included, or do you think there are? Do you think everyone that was included in the stockpile should be in there?
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely don't agree with Bitcoin only. I think that's the dumbest shit ever, personally. But I don't necessarily have a say in what assets should get included or shouldn't. I mean, I guess I can have an opinion, but I would think you would go after blue chip assets. Not every asset should be in the digital asset stockpile. Like, of course, Bitcoin, you have your own thing, but every coin outside of Bitcoin, so altcoins, there's only a select few that are worth holding, in my opinion. So outside of that, I I mean, we don't need meme coins. We don't need coins that's still trying to get off the ground, that type of stuff. You need assets that have somewhat of a proven track record. And there's a lot of market cap, there's a lot of transaction volume, that type of stuff. To me, those would be the only assets that would be worth including in the stockpile. Other than that, you're just kind of
So,
watering the importance down.
how do you feel about the argument that these altcoins they move as Bitcoin moves? So therefore, why wouldn't we just use Bitcoin? Just playing devil's advocate because
Right.
the argument is like these altcoins when Bitcoin goes up, when Bitcoin goes down, they go down, and you know put you kind of put the whole reserve as a whole when we're talking about digital assets. You leave us open for more damage. If Bitcoin starts to do bad, every asset in the reserve, the digital stockpile, will be doing bad.
I mean,
So
yeah, Bitcoin definitely runs the market. Like, I mean, when Bitcoin makes a move, you should definitely, or normally when Bitcoin makes a move, you can pretty much assume that other assets in the market are going to make a move in a similar direction. But if we keep it at a dollar, XRP has outperformed Bitcoin this year and last year. So I mean, what it depends on what we keeping it for. If we're doing something like a strategic reserve where we're not selling for X amount of years and the only times that we're going to sell is to pay off the deficit, then I mean, ultimately the short term ebbs and flows of any asset shouldn't matter. And my argument with a lot of people is you really must not know how the US dollar works. Like I don't see anybody complaining about the US dollar losing value as much as it has and worrying about why we have all of our reserves or most of our reserves in cash. Like you go to the grocery store, inflation is eating you alive. You're not worried about your dollar then, the common person is not.
yeah.
So why are we worried about it with any asset? We have a stockpile of gold. right? It's crazy how gold way back in the day when we got off the gold standard was worth $42. Now it's worth damn near 3,000. Were you worried about the ebbs and flows of that ridiculous price growth over the years? Probably not. Like
So,
gold had some downtimes.
so I think most of this can just be, some that people in the space having preferences,
Of
wanting
course.
to ensure that one stays on top and not kind of sharing that spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's keep it a dollar. Bitcoin, they've been on top for years, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Like, it's totally fine to have a successful token, especially in this emerging asset class. You need multiple examples of what the technology can do, how people are using it, to spawn and inspire future use cases. Definitely nothing wrong with having winners, right? But what I don't like is this maximalism attitude where the original ethos of crypto and blockchain in general is quickly lost when it comes to somebody's bags and how much money that they have invested in that particular asset, and that goes for anybody: Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, whoever. I don't really care. I really think maximalism in general is a very stupid way to approach crypto and digital assets in general.
Yeah, I mean, are you surprised at how fast we got the strategic Bitcoin reserves? I know before you thought it,
Yeah.
necessarily might not have came in 2025, and then you
Yeah,
know,
no, I'm definitely surprised. I mean, usually I'm used to the government really just
and slow.
kicking things down the road, bro. Like, they say they're gonna do something, bro, but then that might be at the end of the term, the last year of the term that they finally start getting stuff done. So I'm definitely surprised that Trump was able to get something like this through, especially with how unprecedented something like this is. So I'm definitely shocked there, but at the same time, it didn't really move the market like I would have expected it to, at least in the direction.
Yeah, I think
Well, maybe you can argue that because these are generational prices, so I'm good with that.
I think that the issue that we're having, in regards to, we having things like Project Stargate, and we having, things like TSM announcing major investments and other tech companies announcing major investments. You have the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think a lot of these things are getting negated by a lot of the negative catalysts. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of the market sentiment, at least, how I'm thinking about it, is that yeah, you're pushing through a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Yeah, you're announcing all of this investment, but are you really focused on that? You got
Right.
a lot going on. You signed the strategic reserve, you signed the executive order, but are you guys actually going to be taking the steps towards doing what needs to be done with that? Are you actually focused on that? Is your administration focused on that? Because y'all got a lot more pressing things going on right now. So I mean, it kind of seems like they signing a lot of stuff. They getting a lot of the bar rolling on a lot of stuff, but you can only focus on so many things at once.
Especially within your first year. And mind you, I don't even think we've had Trump in office for 100 days yet.
I
So
don't, has it been 60 days?
I don't need. Oh yeah, it's been more than 60 days. It's March,
Yes,
so we at least at 90 days. So or getting close to 90 days. So sometime in April second quarter, it'll be his first 100 days. We'll be able to judge how Trump has moved within that first 100 days and kind of have a better idea how we can expect him to move moving forward. But I will say, even though it seems like a lot is going on and they have their focuses split in multiple areas, he is surrounded by the right people. I'll say that he's definitely inviting all the right people to the table. Especially when talking about crypto. All the major players. That crypto summit had a lot of major players in there. I'm talking about, Ripple executives, Ondo Finance executives. You had Ethereum Foundation represented there. You had Michael Saylor there for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. So, I mean, you had a lot of people in that room being able to lobby and discuss business in terms of crypto. So I definitely think we're going in the right direction, but again, this is our first quarter. I definitely said first quarter would be a little rocky. We're gonna see what's going on. And who knows, these prices, the way the market's going, the way Trump is moving with these tariffs, it's a whole lot that's affecting these markets and these decisions. So we just gonna have to see.
I do think it's interesting that because before as the markets were, especially crypto, as crypto was developing and starting to gain its respect as a real asset class. I know a lot of people kind of tried to separate it from the stock market and how it behaved and what it actually affected it and things like that. And I'm actually surprised that things like tariffs are affecting the price of these digital assets because I don't, what's the real correlation between a trade war and these digital assets besides I, I'm trying to figure out. I don't really know what the what the correlation between. I can understand the stock market, of course, because these
Hmm.
supply chains, all that. But why is crypto so affected? Is it just a market cap? Is it just people negative sentiment? People uncertain, not sure, where to move their money at this time. People just pulling cash out, holding cash.
Yeah.
Why do you think
I
it's
mean,
affected
it
now?
breaks it boils down to one simple thing, and that's liquidity. Uncertain times like this, people want to have cash on hand just in case for anything. And I'll say this, it's mostly retail, and obviously you got a lot of institutions moving the market with their plays, but they do that because they're the ones that manipulate and move the market, whether we want to admit that or not. Retail does not move and manipulate the market by any means. So it's mostly retail that's on the emotional selling or what have you side of things. But yeah, it boils down to liquidity. Everyday people, they hear, oh, eggs are going to be more expensive because of this, or oh, cars are going to be more expensive because of this, or everyday services that we need, that we spend money on that become bills ultimately every month. People need liquidity to be able to maintain that lifestyle, that quality of living. So people will sell assets out of uncertainty. I mean, that's ultimately all it is. There is no direct correlation, at least from my viewpoint,
Yeah.
between crypto and the tariff wars. It just simply boils down to needing access to liquidity.
Have you sold any assets out of? Because me personally, I haven't sold anything. I,
No, I have not. No,
I've been
no,
I've been taking
no.
advantage of these opportunities because it's certain price points that I'm seeing that I thought we would never see again. Honestly, in regards to
Right.
steps.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I have access to my assets if I need liquidity. I don't necessarily sell to get that access, but I'm not really in a position to where I need to liquidate or even use any of my assets as liquidity. If I'm being honest with you, so I'm
So,
actually kind of happy that these prices are even lower because I'm getting entries that I didn't think I would get at least this quick.
so what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe they have positions that they've been building out? Of course, more than likely if they've been buying as of late probably a higher price points and they see their portfolio starting to fall, they see these cheaper prices, because I've had people ask me, hey, I see these prices, but is it going to keep falling? Should I buy? Because I have a methodology, that I've been following. But what would you tell somebody who, they have positions started, but they're uncertain? Should I sell? Should I be buying this dip? If I buy it here and it keeps falling, what do I do? Do I sell after I bought the
Yeah.
dip and it keeps falling? Like, what advice would you give somebody, in the crypto space specifically? Because I know you guys get a lot bigger, more drastic swings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to have balls of steel to be able to withstand the crypto market, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But I mean, for example, just a couple days ago, I put 10 bands in the market.
Already
Soon as
see
I did that,
it.
soon as I did that, dipped. I mean, that's just I mean, maybe it's my luck, but I'm almost used to that. I'm almost used to the markets moving like that. And I'm not really phased by it anymore. But I was lucky to have some people in my corner that were experienced investors, so I was able to kind of get guidance and things of that nature. But I will say, I mean, DCA is the name of the game, especially if you're just starting. I bought my first purchase of XRP way back in the day was at 50 cents, and then I watched that drop down to 11 cents. I was still buying. and now XRP is over $2. It's under $2 right now, I think. But then, I mean, that's unfortunately that's just the name of the game. If you are investing in assets you have strong conviction in, then obviously you want to DCA when you can, especially if you're not working with large sums of money. If you and just hold, bro. Like have a long term outlook on things. In my opinion, I mean, there will be times where it'll be best to sell, especially when you're in large profit. I mean, that's the name of investing is to see a profit. So I'm not saying never sell. I am simply saying though, in order to see those large profit gains, you indeed have to be able to withstand these swings and DCA. Now, most people they're not working with with large sums of money at a time, so DCA is always the best. And when you see these bottoms or these downward moves, bro, yeah, you may have bought at a higher price, but this is even better entry. So, and by DCAing, you lower your cost basis. So, yeah, you may have bought a certain amount at a certain price, but buying lower that lowers your buy-in average price. So ultimately, you save money in the long run anyway by DCAing.
Yeah, and as far as stocks, I mean, I think you use the same, the strategy that I've been using is when you're buying pullbacks, which a minor pullback is usually about 10%, as far as stocks goes. Crypto is
Yeah.
well, that's a daily occurrence.
Hey, you
But
sneeze and it's a
when
10%
we're
swing.
talking about stocks, the strategy I'll be using is if you're watching assets, pulls back 10%, deploy some cash. Falls another 10%, I deploy some cash again. Another 10%, I deploy some cash again. And of course, I think just have a plan. For me,
Right.
I've been buying at asset I'm like, oh, it's dropped 10%. All right, bet I'm gonna load some more. Keep falling some more. I was there for another 10%. All right, I'm gonna buy again here. So that way, when the price starts to recover, you're starting to get back into profit at different levels. And
Mhm.
it it does something for your psyche. So don't I would say this, if you are sitting on a little bit of cash, or if you have been stacking some cash on the side, or for people that have money going into 401k, if you manage your 401k like I do, and you buy your own assets, whatever in your 401k, let the money stack. If all 10% is assets, you are all right. I'm gonna dip some more money, dip some more money in, dip some more money in. Don't I wouldn't just load the boat personally on the first dip, especially
Mhm.
not especially not in the times we're in now, because we got macro coming out every day and stuff is dropping at crazy rates. But I will say this. I think that some of these price drops that we have, I don't even necessarily see them as price drops. I think this is where a lot of these assets should have been priced at anyway.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of these assets are testing lows. I mean, you can't call it a low if it's never tested to be one. So, I mean, in my viewpoint, this is lining up perfectly with my prediction of Q2 and beyond being go time for a lot of these assets across multiple asset classes. Um, if we're talking specifically crypto and stocks, like a lot of these charts is looking the same. So I'm not really phased at all. Um, this falls in line with what we talked about pre-election, post-election. So I'm not really shaking. It's all falling in line. Like I said, a lot of these assets they're just testing lows. So if you're in crypto, man, get used to these swings. We called 70K something Bitcoin, and the lowest that I saw it get a couple of days ago was 77K. So that was well within that zone of accumulation. Um, and I mean, that was only the first leg. So we may see Bitcoin go a little lower, all the way down to that 70K even level. Or we could see it chop. I mean, you really don't know right now. Anything can happen, but that's why you also, have a hedge aspect of your strategy. So you can be not necessarily all in. Most of your wealth or your capital could be concentrated in one asset class, but as I've kind of formulated a more sophisticated strategy for myself, I'm definitely seeing the importance of having a hedge asset class to hedge against your anchor.
We had to talk about
Um,
we had to talk about that because somebody. somebody had a hot take this week that I seen that said, and this may be going a little bit talk, but you mentioned hedge. So they said, um, Ian Dunlap, he said if you have to hedge an investment, you probably shouldn't be in that investment. How do you feel about that? You agree with that?
I don't agree with that at all. Because when you're talking about hedges, like for instance, I may be in crypto for maximum growth, right? Most of my net worth is in crypto, but I know that you're going to have downtimes. And to me, that sounds kind of contradictory comparing it to something else that he said earlier this year, but we'll get to that later. Um, you're going to have downtimes in crypto. During those downtimes, I may not want to bleed as much as everybody else may bleed. So I may pair my crypto portfolio with a solid position in gold. Gold don't really move. I mean, it's been going up. It's been having a crazy year if you look at gold's chart, but gold don't really move crazy and sporadically like crypto. So I get to experience, I guess, some level of stability coming from crypto. And I think that's just smart. Why would you not have a hedge against an asset that you know, yes, you can get maximum growth out of, but at the same time, you can experience some heavy downward swings too. Why would you not hedge that with a more stable asset like gold? To me, that's smart.
I mean, and when you're talking about that, I mean, I got it pulled up. If we look at S&P year to date, we're talking about hedging with gold. S&P 500 is down 6.1%. And then if you look at, the NASDAQ 100 year to date, that's down 9%. And if you go over to gold year to date, it's up 11.9%, basically 12%.
So you wouldn't have felt that dip.
Good hedge right now.
Right, right. You wouldn't have felt that dip in the stock market. So, and then especially a lot of people ask me who I've been discussing my strategy pivot. And when I say pivot, I'm not getting out of crypto. I'm still going to be investing in crypto. I'm just going to be putting a lot more focus on the metal side of things too. And that's for multiple reasons. It is a hedge against crypto in my opinion, but it's also a true hedge against inflation. I'm trying to preserve my capital in some ways. I've taken not necessarily more risk than what I want to in crypto, but if we're being honest, crypto is still a highly risk heavy asset class. I don't care what you say. I don't care what crypto it is. It's still considered a heavy risk allocated asset. So, in my opinion, cool. Yeah, I'm still under 30. Got one more year to go. So yeah, I'm definitely exposed to maximum growth, but at the same time, I have to think more strategically. That's why to me gold is the play because it's like, bro, when they turn the money printer on, inflation gonna go crazy. My purchasing power dwindles even more out there. If I have a hedge in gold against inflation, I don't feel that increase in inflation as much as I would have if I didn't have that position in gold. Crypto, who knows how additional inflation could affect crypto. It could be negative or it could be positive. So if both assets are going crazy at the same time, I'm all good for that. But I do know it's more likely that crypto is going to experience a downward swing than gold. So when those downward swings in crypto come, I still have gold to insulate me. So I'm good. I'm playing defense.
Yes, if you just look at it purely numbers wise, we're talking about trade tariffs, all these things is going on that's affecting the markets, and like we just showed, everything else is down for the year.
Hmm.
That's the only thing that's up, and even in the last month, just think about all that's transpired in the last month, all of the price swings we've seen in the Nasdaq, SP 500, crypto, and even in the last month, gold is still up 0.2%.
Right.
So it's not.
It ain't feeling this. It
Yeah.
ain't feeling this. So it's definitely something I encourage people to take a look at. My main thing is being able to earn a yield on the assets in which I hold. You can earn a yield on gold. You just got to know where to look. Just got to know where to look and know what you're doing. So it's all about passive income, earning a yield on my assets, holding lots of those assets to make a difference. Extreme growth on crypto. I'm playing capital preservation and protection with gold. To me, that's a match made in heaven. And then when I feel like I've gotten a cool enough position in gold, then I'll start looking at more risk heavy assets again, like stocks or something like that. Something that will expose me to even more growth. But in the meantime, I think gold is the play. That's just me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we only 30 minutes in, bro. We didn't talk about a defensive play in gold. We didn't talk about a DCA strategy.
Hmm.
Tips, man. We ain't covered a lot. I hope y'all taking notes, man.
Man, I hope y'all got y'all notebook because a lot of this is kind of off topic. I ain't even gonna lie. I got my little
Oh,
notebook right here checking these topics,
hold
but we
on
just
though.
rolling. We just
Get you,
rolling. We just rolling.
what else you got on the docket, man? What's next?
I do want to circle back. I don't want to get off the crypto topic. I
Uh,
definitely wanted to talk about this Genius Act. I found this very interesting. Again, Eleanor Tarrant coming in clutch with the quick reactions, the quick news reporting. She reported that the Genius Act, which stands for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation and U.S. Stablecoins, was introduced by Senator Bill Haggerty. So we got some plays going on. I definitely don't think it's a coincidence that this comes shortly after Trump signed the Bitcoin strategic reserve and the digital asset stockpile. Excuse me. So I did. I was wrong on this one. I'll admit it. I was wrong on this one. I definitely didn't expect a Bitcoin strategic reserve to come this year, just based off of how I'm used to the government moving. But I did say I expected a stablecoin act to be passed this year before a Bitcoin reserve. So obviously that didn't happen. Bitcoin reserve was passed. Now they're talking about a stablecoin bill uh, that really covers all the bases when it comes to regulatory clarity around stablecoins in particular. So they focus specifically on dollar denominated stablecoins. So for a lot of people that don't know, especially in the crypto world, there's been multiple um, approaches to stablecoins. You've had the dollar peg stablecoins, which are pegged 1 to 1 to the U.S. dollar through means of holding US treasuries as reserve or anything like that. And then there's also the concept of algorithmic stablecoins, which um, maintain its pegging through an algorithm of some sort, just to explain it in layman's terms and not get too technical. I've seen a lot of algorithmic stablecoins fail. So I would say that approach may not be successful at all and may need to be trash canned. The most successful stablecoins I have seen are the 1 to 1 pegging to the US dollar. So definitely looking forward to that. It establishes who's the oversight of stablecoins. So they split regulatory framework in two parts. You have the federal oversight and then you have state oversight. So the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or OCC for short, will be the federal regulator for stablecoin issuers who have assets of 10 billion or more. So that's the huge banks like institutional big banks, JP Morgan, them type of banks, BlackRock, them type of banks. And of course their subsidiaries. And then you have on the state level, state will have oversight over issuers with assets under $10 billion. So really, your local banks, your BOKs, your Arvis, your credit unions like Oklahoma Central Credit Union, they typically have assets under $10 billion. So each, the banking industry will be from on a state level, they'll be over like your more local banks, your regional banks, which I find interesting and actually happy that they thought about this because this is typically how it works anyway. You have your state legislation, state banks, that type of stuff, and then you have your national federal stuff. So it only makes sense to stay in line with that.
yeah, I'm ready.
Um,
Read through this. Hey, this look pretty good.
no, I think it's well put together. They even include consumer protections. That's the number one thing, in my opinion, that crypto needs is consumer protections. Um, Especially with how prevalent scams are. I don't know if this will apply to digital assets outside of those that are considered stable coins. But I mean, stable coins need consumer protections too. They're cash equivalents essentially. So you have FDIC insurance and stuff like that. So I would expect those types of consumer protections to be available for crypto eventually.
So this Genius Act would pretty much, this is pro what USDT and USDC.
Yeah, USDX, any stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar 1 to 1.
Hey, it's
Yeah.
regulatory clarity.
That's what we asked for. Um, they define what exactly a stablecoin is. Like I said, they mainly focused on dollar denominated stablecoins. They talk about requirements for issuers, so they talk about reserves, transparency, and that's one thing that I'm kind of surprised that they included. So on the transparency side of things, they're essentially requiring issuers to publicly disclose reserve compositions, redemption policies, and audit results to ensure accountability. Now, I know of like from an enterprise standpoint, the only enterprise company that I know of that publicly releases this type of information is Ripple. They've been doing it well before RLUSD. They used to get shit on by the rest of the industry for being as transparent as they have been, but they really were trying to create a standard. So shout out to Ripple on that because I really like that government legislation is going to require stablecoin issuing companies to be just as transparent. So we get to see proof of reserves. We get to see how many people redeeming stablecoins for the cash equivalents behind the scenes. They talk about capital and risk management. So the fact that they have to have exactly 1 to 1 in reserves, whether it's US Treasuries, notes, that type of stuff, you have to have 1 to 1 for every stable coin that gets issued by the issuer. So definitely like this bill. I think it's probably one of the most comprehensive stablecoin bills that I've seen personally. So we'll see where it goes. We have a lot of traction in the crypto space right now, given the Bitcoin strategic reserve and the digital asset stockpile. So let's see if we can get our first stablecoin piece of legislation passed.
And this is something that you ain't gotta wait. Um Senate
Hmm.
vote Senate vote on March 13th.
Yeah, yeah, they do their markup on March 13th, and usually we should see something related to it being voted on pretty soon after that. So we'll see how quick they turn this around. But pivoting off of that, man, going into the world of X, bro, seemed like Ukraine, they didn't like something because apparently, allegedly, Ukraine is the one that performed a huge cyber attack on X a couple days ago. For those that don't know, Elon Musk tweeted out that X, the platform, was under attack. It later was discovered that the IP addresses used to conduct the attack were of Ukrainian origin. So that was very interesting.
Is
I
that
haven't heard much outside of that though.
is that is that verified or just via Elon Musk?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying allegedly, because I haven't seen any verification that it indeed came from Ukraine. I mean, they just pimp slapped Zelensky on national TV, so he's
But
he's a good target right now.
but do you find it odd that, okay, we have this massive cyber attack, Ukraine supposedly behind it, but then the US announces what 24, 48 hours later that we're back to giving them aid?
Yeah,
Don't you think if that was something that truly happened, they'd be like, nah, that's we're not giving you aid. I mean, you've seen how we've been acting in regards to how hostile we've been with Canada and how they even treated Zelensky at the meeting. If you
right.
thought we was behind a massive cyber attack, why would we, you know, reward that by, okay, we're gonna give you aid back, regardless
Bro,
of
I don't
a peace treaty and all that, the ceasefire and all that. But if you behind a massive cyber attack on a US company, yeah, it seemed kind of
to
odd.
me that's a act to me that would be considered an act of war if that was true. That's just me because we depend heavily on our digital infrastructure. So to me, I would definitely consider that an act of war. And then of course, Elon could have just said that for headlines. I don't know, because you're right. I would if I think you attacked me, I'm not giving you billions of
Yeah.
dollars. I'm gonna say go. I'm gonna in one way or another. I'm gonna tell you to go have a good day.
Think that's what made me side eye because I'm like, okay. And then I hear that okay, we backed up, we ceasefire, we giving aid. Regardless of the ceasefire, I would think that you come attack, because that not only if Elon is Trump's right hand man, you attack his company, I would think that Trump would take that as disrespect as well. In addition to what happened at the meeting, it's kind of odd that if that would be the case, that we would be, be rewarding. I mean, I don't know. Who knows, man? It's a lot of wild things going on, a lot of unprecedented things. But that gave me some side eye. I was like, that don't really make
Right.
sense.
Yeah, we just got to pay attention to that because, and this could be just nothing. It could have just been to make headlines. But in the same vein, it's been a kind of busy week for Elon because the Tesla stock ain't looking good right now. It
Year
ain't
to
looking
date,
good.
Tesla stock is down 42.9%. That is the biggest drop. I'm looking at this heat map. They are down more than any of the big names, but it's not even close. They down bad. But I will
Bro,
say that
see, I I wouldn't even flinch at a 42% drop. Maybe that's me.
at the
But
same
y'all, I know
time,
for y'all in the stock market, bro, y'all be ready to jump out a
bro,
window over
let-
42%.
bro, you gotta think. Let's just get this in perspective. For those that don't remember, President Trump, President elect, you know, he won. Tesla started to go crazy. Tesla
Mhm.
started to go absolutely insane. It ran up, and was, estimated and nearing $500 a share. This was 3 months ago. Tesla was on fire, going absolutely nuts. And to see Tesla, nearing that $500 mark to now trading at $234, after hours today, losing that much market cap in 3 months, that's insane.
I mean, not really. I'll give you an example.
That's insane.
So there's this token called Tau. It's AI focused. When I started looking at it, it was like 550, almost $600. Today, it is $262. That's a pretty I guess that's a massive drop.
What's the time frame you just said?
I started looking at Tau when it was like 650, 600 maybe, and it's currently $262.
Okay, but
So it was 650 back in December of last year. So end of the year.
this is the thing. I know that for me, let me just get this out of the way because I only Tesla shouldn't be. I don't even believe that just based off fundamentals, Tesla even should have been as high as it is. So I'm
Mhm.
not mad at the current price. I feel that way about a lot of assets. I feel like a lot of assets were, ran up too high,
Overvalue. Yeah.
especially like a Palantir or other assets. But I mean, you look at Tesla in the last month, they've lost 29.8%. And
No, that's crazy.
when we think about Tesla, bro, you see it. You look, bro. Look at how he's moving with his cars. All of the incentives, dropping prices. He's losing Starlink partnerships. He's having to go over there and try to set up means to kiss the ring over there in Italy and do all of these things. It gets to a point. Do you think he anticipated this much pushback from his Doge efforts?
I mean, probably not, but at the same time though, I have a theory about this. And it's not necessarily it's not just Elon specific. It's really how Trump is playing this market right now. So in Trump's previous administration, he would have done anything he could to keep the market going in the right direction, going up, right? This time around, he like, man, I ain't even looking at the stock market.
That's what's
'Cause
crazy.
But what did he say though? It's you got to pay attention to what this man is saying. He quite literally is telling Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chairman, lower the rates. Jerome can't lower the rates, but if you force Jerome's hand, he might have to lower the rates. And how do you force Jerome's hand? Well, you attack the stock market. How do you attack the stock market? These tariffs, right? M2 money is increasing. So they're slowly but surely increasing that money supply. So to
Okay.
me, Trump is playing 4D chess, and a lot of people are on Trump's head about these tariffs. But if me as president can't control policy, fiscal policy or monetary policy, I mean, but I need monetary policy to be impacted to lower these rates. Well, I'm gonna control what I can control. I'm gonna put in these tariffs, which I know is gonna impact the stock market and crypto, right? And get things going where they need to go because at a certain point you have to give the stock market a stopgap. The stock market is too big to fail, right? It can't just crash through the floor. Let's just be honest about that. Okay, so when if I'm president and I need these rates to lower, I attack the stock market. I attack risk on assets in general. It's not just the stock market; it's risk on assets. That's why gold. They like, bro, we chilling, but crypto and stocks, man, we filled with bullets right now. We getting lit up right now, right? So I think that personally, I think this is all part of Trump's plan. He not playing about lowering these rates, but at the same time as lowering these rates, who's mostly benefiting? I'm gonna be honest with you. It's people that don't have to sell their assets to buy groceries. That's who's going to be benefiting the most out of this. It's really a signal to those who have expendable capital to be like, hey, yo, you might want to use this opportunity to load your bags up as much as possible because when things flip and things start increasing, you want to be on that, you want to be on the right side of that.
Okay.
And when you have more capital, more liquidity to deal with that's in the stock market, you benefit more from inflation historically.
Yeah. I mean, to play devil's advocate, since we're talking about Tesla specifically, and we can clearly see that Tesla is facing the brunt or has had the most dramatic drop. And we would only be common sense to associate that with Elon Musk Doge efforts. So, okay, he's trying to force Jerome Powell's hand. Jerome Powell drops interest rates. That that won't really change, sentiment amongst the American people in regards to Elon Musk. That won't change sentiment in regards to other world leaders, other countries. Elon Musk's name is his name is starting to become dirt. You
I mean,
know,
is it or is this just political theater?
I don't know about that because you're talking about Canada 100% tariffs on Teslas. You're talking about public outrage, people burning down Tesla charging stations, people protesting even in our state. People was protesting at our local Tesla dealership. You have people trading in their Teslas, people, boycotting Tesla. You have Starlink, they're losing deals. He's doing all these incentives, dropping prices, trying to do all these incentives to move numbers. And it's obviously people hitting them more hurt, which is in his
Yeah,
pocket. But my only thing is on the other side of that is, we talked about emotional investing before.
I was just about to bring that up.
Tesla, when we look at the fundamentals, nothing has changed. Tesla is not just a car company. Tesla, yeah, I mean, you can boycott Tesla. I'm not going to buy Tesla. But when we're talking about Tesla's future outlook and what's going to be driving, the stock price, what's going to be driving revenues, profits, what's going to be driving growth for that company, autonomous vehicles, robotics, none of that has changed. Not to mention that I don't even believe Teslas are going anywhere. I mean, yeah, it's a big deal now, but there's still a subset of people who are able to separate the tech, the vehicles that they love from Elon. And I think this is an amazing opportunity to be able to get Tesla at this price.
Yeah, this
I,
is like damn near pre-pandemic or early pandemic
I think
price
I
for
think
Tesla.
I think a year from now, a lot of people are going to. I really can't even say a lot of people because would you agree that most of the people that are in an outrage about Tesla, most of the people that are protesting, committing vandalism and all these type of things, I don't even think those are the same people that are stockholders.
Oh no. Hell no. 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 No, they're not. You know they aren't. You know they aren't. Most of these people, bro, don't really have no skin in the game. Right? So that's what I'm a little bit confused about. I could understand people doing all this if they had skin in the game. But even then, you shouldn't feel that emotional about your investment. You should be pretty confident. Cuz like I said, I think this is pre-pandemic price for Tesla. I vaguely remember in 2020, 2021, we talking about I think we were day trading Tesla and it was like 216 or something like that. I can't remember. But they had did a stock split, went crazy from there. So anyway, um, yeah, I don't think these are people that hold the stock. I don't think these are people that have much of anything invested outside of maybe buying a car or the fact that they don't like Elon. And this is my thing to those types of people. If you are mad at this man for uncovering waste and fraudulent spending on behalf of the American taxpayer, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, right? Because if we keep it at a dollar, Joe Biden's organization, last administration, found there to be extreme waste, extreme fraudulent spending when it came to tax dollars. So, why is it that you are upset with Elon and Donald Trump because they're the ones saying it, but you were not upset with Biden and his administration saying it? The only difference between Trump's admin and Biden's admin in this case is Trump's admin is actually doing something about it. Whether you like how they're going about it or not, at least they're following up on their actions. They ain't just pointing the finger and then wait for you to forget about it. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily agree with everything that Doge is doing or how they're going about it, but I do agree, fam. Y'all got a 10K limit on all them credit cards, and y'all just be swiping. Y'all be buying bunch of BS. Y'all be sending SSI benefits to people that ain't even alive. Like, imagine being this clueless or reckless on your job, let alone mine. I wouldn't have a job if
Yeah.
I was this reckless with my responsibilities. So yeah, you like everybody else. Just because you working for the government don't mean you untouchable.
I will say this because I had a conversation, with someone who has worked. I won't go into too much detail, but I had a conversation with somebody who was worked in the federal government 21 years, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, has a lot of contacts, people in different agencies. And, I was able to get a lot more insight, on what's going on in DC specifically. And they moving nasty down there, bro. Like it's ugly. And the crazy thing is, a lot of the people that are getting affected, like I said before, like I alluded to before, they're not the shot callers. They're not
No,
they're not the people, who are behind the fraud. They're not the people that are behind the misspending. These are people who have worked in the federal government for decades, some of them. These are people with very high technical skills. These are people with a lot of expertise. These are people with crazy government clearances. These are people that do very essential jobs behind the scenes, and the sentiment out there in DC is, you know, you have a whole subset of people that are granted still have jobs, but it's to the point to where they're like, hey, they don't like the smut that's been put on our name. And oh, we're lazy, we don't want our keep, we're this, we're that, and a lot of them are feeling like that the government is could potentially be shut down on what is it, March 14th, March 15th,
hmm
and a lot of there is. I don't want to say too much. So I'm not even gonna say that. I don't want to say too much. I'm not gonna say that. But point is, the sentiment down there in DC is extremely, extremely, extremely negative. We're on the brink of potential government shutdown. And Doge, granted, they are uncovering fraud. I still do not think we've got enough transparency in regards to where the actual fraud is coming from. Not just this agency is misspending this money is going here. Tell us where the fraud is coming from. It doesn't matter what agency it is, these agencies have leadership. The buck has to stop somewhere. And I haven't seen those names. I haven't seen those people get put on Front Street. I haven't seen anybody held accountable. I haven't
But you
seen
rarely ever will. It's
if
always like I'll never I forget what movie it was, but basically they always need a head. They
Mhm.
always need a head, and the main person, the top person, is almost never the head that rolls. It's always somebody lower down on the totem pole.
if we're not going to see that, then just stop the efforts. Because what are you doing? You're literally firing people, cutting thousands of jobs. The economy is going to feel that. I just read an article today that airlines are already feeling it due to those professionals who were once traveling here, there, not flying. Businesses feeling the effects. I know someone personally, family members, both work for the federal government in DC, $1 million home, both high income 6-figure earners, both fired. That could be the case for thousands of people in DC. You're talking about homes being foreclosed on, cars being foreclosed on, people's businesses being affected, other businesses being affected. And if you're going to keep going down this route in mass firings and slaying this and that, and saying you're going after these agencies, well, if no actual shot caller is going to be held accountable, what is it for?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. The shot callers need to be the ones that get hung out to dry, but that never happens. That never happens. And
And
I
that's
think when we first talked about this, I brought that up. Like that's part of the problem. Like, and that's what like you can identify areas of concern, but like you said, if you're not really chopping things off at the head, what's the point? Um, but on the other end, if you only go for the head, you don't get the numbers that we're seeing. You don't get the number of potential unemployment that we're going to get. And this is why I say pay attention to what Trump is saying. Pay attention to what he's mostly focused on. He is dead ass about these rates and the economy being too messed up. And I think you and I go back and forth about this because it's like, do people really feel this economy? Are like from certain metrics, the economy is good, X, Y, and Z, but it's really not, right? And so when you talk about recession, because now even the president is talking about recession. When you bring up the term recession, what ultimately comes with recession? Extreme historical high numbers of unemployment.
okay. But
He just
if
laid off all these people.
but my thing is, you spoke about Biden, and every time someone mentions the economy, every time someone mentions the job numbers, every time someone mentions anything negative about the economy, oh, I just got here. That's Biden. Oh, I just got
Yeah.
here. We got to be real. It don't matter if you voted for Trump or not, whether you like it or not. If we being completely unbiased, Trump, Elon Musk, they are accelerating inflation. They are
Oh,
accelerating.
absolutely.
They are driving the country into turmoil, into recession, whether you like it or not. You can't
And
initiate trade war with everybody at the same time and not expect the economy to be severely fractured.
but I think we're making the mistake of thinking that they don't know that they don't know their actions is driving us towards a more strenuous economy. Like I said, Trump is not playing about these interest rates, but the economy has to be in a position to where they have no choice but to decrease rates. Unfortunately, historically, when you look at it, anytime they started raising rates and the economy started improving, or anytime they started lowering rates to help improve the economy, it was met with extremely high unemployment rates, right? So, to me, again, going back to him playing 4D chess, and I don't necessarily agree with all this. I'm just simply saying, based on how economics works, he making the plays perfect. I'll say that. If you think that in order to get where you want to be, like further ahead, that you have to destroy the economy in some ways or the other to give it a rebirth, to interject new life, then that's exactly what he's doing. Like I said, M2 money supply is increasing. That means that inflation is slowly increasing. That means that they're slowly printing money. This tariff situation, how fast he is to rescind these tariffs and then put them right back out again, impacts the markets. The stock market has to be on life alert, damn near, for Jerome Powell to be like, yo, all right, people not investing as much, which means that there's no way that people have expendable capital to do so, which also means that their outlook, their long-term outlook on the economy and the market is not great because everybody's hoarding cash. Well, if we want things to get moving again in the economy, we got to get people to spend more money. So how do you do that? You make borrowing money cheaper. How do you do that? Lower the rates, right? So it's a domino effect. So no, I don't necessarily agree with Trump coming in and making the economy worse, but when I'm looking at it, when I zoom out, it's like you have to kill the phoenix for it to rise from the ashes. And that's exactly what he's doing, it seems like. Not
But
giving him a cop out, but I'm just
I
saying
think
from an economic
I think
standpoint.
I think that could be a play, but you're talking about causing irreparable damage.
Do they care?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. You don't have to care, but we know that. How long did it take the economy to recover after 2008?
I mean,
The,
it honestly didn't start recovering until like 2011, 2012.
the only reason the economy recovered as fast as it did after COVID was because they pumped so much money, into the economy. So, in even regards to that, I think they playing an extremely dangerous game. I think he's saying that we're gonna do this and then we're gonna bring all these jobs by bringing manufacturing over here. Well, looking at the numbers, you are hurting all of the major companies in the United States. The companies that are driving the GDP, you're hurting those companies. You're hurting their supply chains. You are affecting their ability to innovate, to drive revenues. You're affecting their ability. I mean, because let's just be real. He only got 4 years. You only got 4 years. You're not going to bring manufacturing here and get it in place in 4 years. You're not going to do it. So what happens when you tear everything down and blow everything to smithereens and say you do start the rebuilding process, but you run out of time? Now the country is in fucking turmoil, and say the next president, a Democrat comes, or even if it's a Republican, that may not share the same ideals, they may want to go about things a different way. Now, they're not continuing on your path, and now, we have to spend a year, 2 years for them to get their ball rolling. I just think it's a dangerous game. I think it's a dangerous game. He's doing a lot of things too fast, and I think they're moving, without regard of the effects on, because at the end of the day, yeah, you wanna fix the economy, you wanna fix interest rates, you wanna do this, you wanna do that, make sure people are treating America fairly, all of the political stuff, the geopolitical stuff. But at the end of the day, what drives the country? Americans. If you're doing things that is hurting Americans, in a crazy way, not just Americans, but middle class Americans. I mean, just the amount of jobs that they've cut alone in the federal government, y'all crushing the middle class out there in DC.
Well, yeah, I mean, are we still expecting the middle class to survive? I'm just being I mean, honestly, that's a rhetorical question. But and I've been saying this for years, maybe just not on this platform, but if you don't have any assets, you're fucked. Excuse my French, but that's as blunt as I can get it.
But my
If
thing,
if if your net worth is mostly denominated in cash, I'm gonna pray for you.
my thing is
They I
if
mean, Trump is doing exactly what he said he was gonna do.
okay,
And
so
at the end of this, we may not even like Trump. I'm gonna just be honest with you. We may not even like Trump. He could have been the worst thing for this country. There's a high chance for that in terms of the economy. But to your point related to hurting American companies, he can't be hurting them too much. Because why are they willing to invest billions of dollars in
don't have a
infrastructure
choice.
upgrades?
I don't have a choice. You could
Of course, they have no choice.
let's just look at the game he's played. He's basically said since day one before he even got in office, it's straight payola over here. Pay to play, put money, donate money to the United States, donate money to my inaugural fund, or you're going to get left behind. You're not going to be included in these deals. You're not going to be included, in this AI infrastructure. You're not going to be included in this. You're not going to be included in that. It's pay to play down there in DC. It's pay to
It
play,
always has been.
not at this level.
I mean, it's hard to say. The only difference between this and what we're probably used to is the fact that it's in the public eye. It's in the public eye. If none of this was in the public eye, we wouldn't be talking about it. We would not be talking about it. So I don't like I said, man, I don't necessarily agree with everything Trump is doing, especially Elon. But when it comes to actually sticking to your word, he's sticking to his word, man. Like
I
he's
would
he
say,
he he said that we all good with short term turmoil for long term prosperity. He said that. That lets you know he willing to burn it all.
okay, but don't don't campaign on, you know, making America great again if your plan was to decimate the economy, cut thousands and thousands of we're not just talking about grocery store jobs. We're talking about six-figure jobs, high six-figure jobs. If your plan was to do that, your plan was to, only create a space where companies who can afford to, you know, pay to play, only those companies, get included in deals, only those companies can survive. If your plan was to create a space where, because I don't know, but I just think, and not only that, well, this is subject for another day. The what is it called? What's the initiative that people were saying that he was pushing and he denied it.
Oh, Project 2025.
Talk about that another day. But Project 2025 has been in place since the day he came in office. we're keeping it a buck. We'll talk about that another day. We might have to do a special pod
Yeah, that's a whole pod by itself.
because that's definitely in play. But I just think that they are moving. I think they're moving reckless. I even talked to somebody earlier today. There's no way you can initiate trade wars with China, the EU, Canada, Mexico, all at the same. But you gotta think, if they were to all come together and say, "Hey, America trying to stick it to us, they trying to bully us into this to that," we all band together, we do trade with each other, and we freeze them out. Trump can say, "Oh, we don't need them. Our companies need them. Every last one of our top companies needs that the trade between every name I just mentioned." So he's playing an extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous game. It's worked out to this point with Canada and Mexico, but let's not forget that we haven't even started dealing with China and the EU yet, and we've seen how China feel. They said they're willing to go to war about whatever we would they would, and China and the EU are going to be, the most dangerous when we're talking about trade wars. And we haven't even got to that yet. I don't think what are those go into effect in April?
Yeah, but I'm more worried about China in that instance than the EU. Hey, the EU better keep their mouth shut because they still ain't figured out their energy problem. That ain't, and if I'm Trump, that's how I'm coming. That's how I'm coming at the problem.
Okay, so
Hey, pipe
if
down until you figure out how to be self sufficient when it comes to energy.
if we're not even self sufficient when it comes to energy,
Hey,
what
but
if
we further along. We further
Canada,
along than the EU.
what if Canada had actually Canada is really some hoes if we keep it a buck because they are with 25%. And if you keep up, we're gonna cut energy altogether. If 24 hours later you pull it back, what if they had actually stood on business and cut out and said no
But
energy?
that's the thing. None of them can stand on business besides China. That is the only one that can stand on business. Mexico can't stand on business. Canada can't stand on business. And EU, you better shut up. You better shut up until you figure that out. I'm so for real. I'm so for real. And
Hold
this
on,
and that's
we're not
and this
too
is the
far
thing.
out of that.
But
Oh, we're not too far out
but
of
but
that.
hold on. But we kind of are though. We could if we wanted to, we could. It may increase gas prices and energy prices a little bit for the short term, but we could.
To
I
do what?
don't think
Cut all three off?
you said what?
To cut Canada, Mexico, and the EU off?
No, I'm not saying do it all at once. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is they need us more than we need them. I agree
True,
with that. I agree
true.
with that.
You don't need them though.
Um,
Point.
But we do need them. I will say that. We do need them. We've put ourselves in a position to be dependent upon foreign trade. Absolutely. But if Trump is doing his thing, his main what has he said? He has said, bro, they hitting us upside the head with these fees and tariffs and all this other stuff, other places, and we protecting them. And like, nah, bro. No, something gotta give. Something gotta give. And y'all copping land over here, China? Nah,
I
no,
don't think. I don't think.
no,
I don't think these games gonna be able to work with China. They ready.
dog. They've been playing these games though. They was playing these games even during the Biden administration and during Trump's first admin. He was already in the workings of getting us in a situation to where we weren't so dependent on them. But fam, what are the BRICS nations? BRICS nations, they've been working things out to do trade amongst themselves. That's a lot of the global GDP right there. So Trump is one trying to play the cards, whatever cards he may have, while the BRICS nations aren't fully self-sufficient without America. Because America, you're right, they're gonna have to the BRICS nations, if they decide to go off and do their own thing and cut America out, we're screwed. Right. So America, whoever's in power, leadership, they're gonna have to figure out how to navigate that, make strategic alliances and stuff like that. I totally understand that. But this ain't new. These countries have been trying to get out from under America and things of nature. And honestly, if we're being real, America and our previous leadership is who to blame,
To blame
right?
for
For how these nations feel about America when it comes to the petrodollar, when it comes to making that deal with House of Assad way back in the day. Hey, you can only trade barrels of oil denominated in US dollar and in return will forever protect you. Right? That's the only way without that deal. That is the only way that Americans and America in general has been able to afford the life, the quality of life that we've been able to for this so long because we pass our debt out overseas. There
okay,
are more US dollars in circulation in other countries outside the United States than there are in the United States for
but
that reason alone.
Trump came in and destroyed his own deal that he made with Canada and Mexico. So the deal, and as from what I've seen, the tax that they charge, unless it just changed over the last 4 years, what changed in regards to the agreement that you put in place in your last term versus now?
It ain't enough. What changed was our economic status, the way the economy is, our economic health, global economic health. Mind you, Trump, COVID happened in Trump's last year. COVID screwed a lot of stuff up. So yeah, a lot of stuff could have been in place, but COVID happened, man. You got to wipe the slate and start over. right? So, and this goes beyond Trump, this goes beyond Biden. This has been a historical issue throughout the history of the United States when it comes to foreign affairs. So, with Trump, it seems like he's trying to right a lot of that by showing that the United States is indeed a superpower and there is no longer a leadership that is going to allow you to continue to get over on us, right? We don't mind paying our fair share, right? But that fair share decreases and decreases the more we do for y'all. What you mean we protecting you, Ukraine? What you mean? And then you want to ask us for some money? We
Okay,
nah, nah,
but
nah, nah, you nah, nah.
you got to also take into account it's bigger than just that. You also talk about relationships because now you're talking about other superpowers, other countries. You know, talking about holding back intelligence from us and not, doing certain business with us, because of how we've treated Canada as of late, because of how we've treated Ukraine. The rest of the world is starting to lose, not I won't say faith, but starting to lose trust in the United States because they're like, man, y'all moving kind of different, bro. Like
We
y'all.
should be. We
Okay,
should, bro. What
see,
people not understanding is, bro, we
hey,
have been pushing bread out. We have been giving bread out to these people,
is
bro.
that not
So,
the
and
law?
then all of a sudden, when we like, nah, we ain't giving bread no more. We gonna stand up for us. We got to worry about us now. All of a sudden, y'all moving different. We can't trust y'all. Da da da. Man, that highlights a major problem that those countries have that they need to solve, not an American problem. And that's my issue with a lot of these people who want our hands
I
in
think it's
all these dealings overseas.
I don't necessarily think it's the hey you change your standards, you require more, you do. I think it's the way we going about it.
Bro, fam,
Hey,
you ain't
okay,
not- you ain't you
let's
you
put it
gonna
like
you
this.
gonna you gonna blow up your whole empire because you don't like the way somebody talking.
Are you gonna
You gonna crash out. You gonna crash out because you don't like how he talking.
okay, so tell me this. You in a cartel and you got a plug. The plug is very dangerous, and are you going to you want a better deal? You feel like, hey, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I'm an asset, I'm pushing dollars, I generate money, yada yada. Are you going to go at him crazy just because you're, one of his biggest producers? Or are you gonna come at him, kind of respectfully, stern, but get the message across in a decent, better, more strategic way? Because yeah, you making money for me, but it can still be up.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Everybody at the table got to understand what cards they hold. I am not crashing out because the first person to crash out loses. The loudest person in the room is the dumbest person in the room.
You allowed us right now.
No, we not.
Who
No,
you
we are not. No, we are not, bro. Fam, Trump ain't even meeting with these people. He just saying tariffs on what's the name instantly. Who's reacting? I didn't get on the phone with you. Why you getting on the news? Why you gotta have a whole conference? Why you gotta puff your chest out if you feel like everything's good? If you ain't scared.
I mean, you got to because I mean we really going you got to because the stuff that we're doing is affecting their country, so they have to show some sign of leadership, some sign of strength, for their for their citizens, the same way you
Absolutely. But these people are crashing out. They
crashing.
are they
Are
bro,
they trying to are they trying
they
are they trying to defend themselves anyway?
they not
That's
defending.
what.
If you fam, if you good, you ain't gotta defend yourself.
But that's the point. They not good. We not good.
Right. But who's busy? Hold on. Who's busy trying to defend themselves and who's keeping it pushing?
We both. But this is the
We
thing. We all doing the same. They put a tariff on. They put it back. We put a tariff on. We put it back. Neither side really standing on business
but we
anyway.
only pull it back once they get in line.
But they're not fully in line though.
Fam, Ukraine was tripping about the mineral deal, all types of stuff with the ceasefire,
And
right?
you
Now
can't.
all of a sudden, it's all good.
They had
We got
absolute.
what we wanted.
But but you got to think Ukraine has had absolutely no bargaining chips.
Okay, right. But Mexico, hey,
Mexico got
Mexico is
bargaining
deporting
chips.
their own. Mexico is deporting their own people, bro, because it's they on our list.
But they
They didn't stand on nothing either.
Mexico got bargaining chips, bro. I don't, you mean
Fam, they helping us secure the border more. They deporting the people in which we've deemed,
they
they a
claim
problem.
they
We want
is.
them. We want them.
But
Okay.
why is America acting like we don't play a role in? And granted, we just pop and playing devil's advocate.
Right.
Why is America acting like we don't play a role in the fentanyl epidemic? Like
I
we
mean,
just
bro, come on. You know we do. You
we
know
just
we do. You know we do. But some shit just look good on camera.
and that's why I said before: is this really about the border? Is this really about fentanyl, yada yada yada, or was or was Trump put these tariffs up? No matter what, y'all could have said, okay, we'll put up billions of dollars to protect the border, yada yada. Was he still gonna put tariffs forth regardless of what? Y'all couldn't have done nothing to prevent that.
No, I don't think Trump really wants tariffs.
Huh?
Personally. I don't think he really wants tariffs.
He don't want tariffs.
I don't think he really wants tariffs. I do think he wants to be able to work with these countries to strike a deal that benefits all parties involved. But at the same time, Trump is more than willing to use that in his wheelhouse, just like he's more than willing to crash this whole shit to restart it.
But that's my problem. How much pain are you willing to cause us? Because you're not hurting. How much pain are you willing to cause the American people? How much risk are you willing to expose our
But
company
see,
supply chain?
this the thing though. This the thing though. When what people fail to realize, what's happening with the economy was gonna happen regardless. That I literally said regardless who becomes president, whatever happens in the economy was gonna happen regardless.
I don't think
The only difference is it's the same Pepsi, just a different bottle. It would have been the same thing with Kamala. It just would have looked a little different. It's gonna be the same thing with Trump. It's just gonna look a little different because it's Trump. That's it. Like I think people get so caught up in the figurehead and don't realize that this was gonna happen regardless. The means of getting there is gonna look different.
I mean, I hope you're right, brother. I hope
I
you're
don't
right.
want to be right. In
I'm
this instance, I
saying
don't want to be right.
it's spooky out here, bro. It's ugly out here, and I don't know, bro. I feel to only be a few days in, man. Not a few days in, but a few months in. And you mentioned earlier in the pod that you think Q2, Q3 things could turn around. I don't think
But
so.
it's potential for this to bleed into Q2, Q3. It's high potential for that.
My estimations, what I think, the rest of this year is already finished.
I'm good with that. I'd be good with that from a price perspective, an asset allocation perspective. I would be elated
Yeah,
if for the
but
rest of the year we cooked.
this is the thing. Granted, as of right now, we're blessed. We're not being affected by this. But let's just say, play devil's advocate scenario.
Hmm.
You got laid off. I
Hmm.
got laid off. Our situations change. Now we're not looking at this from an investment standpoint. We're in survival mode. We don't have money to invest no more. The sentiment completely changes at that point. What I think we have to realize is that's a lot of people's realities now.
Right, absolutely. But
So
what's hard to separate myself from is, and it comes off lacking emotion, but fam, this is how all these economic crashes and rebirths happen. Like it's not it don't discriminate against anybody. unfortunate. I mean, whether I guess if that's unfortunate or not, the markets don't discriminate. Anybody, it's up for anybody. And I mean, if I were to lose my job today, thankfully I have skills that can earn me income elsewhere. So that's not most Americans, right? I don't think we are most Americans. We don't fit in the most American category. But at the same time, though, I couldn't be too mad because it's not necessarily Trump. It's quite literally the state of the economy. We were going to get here regardless. So I can't be mad at Trump. If it was if Kamala was sitting in that seat, this was gonna happen regardless.
Unnecessary trade. So you don't think, granted, you could say you've been saying that the economy was, the state of the economy was a facade. The numbers were inflated. Things were a lot worse than what was being reported. But you don't think a lot of the stuff in regards to these tariffs and trade wars specifically, you don't think a lot of these are self-inflicted wounds?
Okay. That's potentially correct. Yeah, I would say that. But is giving just solely off your race business owners tens of thousands of dollars, giving lower income earning families tens of thousands of dollars to go buy a house. Do
I
you
don't.
think right? Okay. So which would you rather have? Knowing what you know, which would you rather have? That or the tariff war? We gonna end up in the same place. That's the point. We gonna end up in the same place. Pick your poison.
Hey man,
Cause
hey,
now, cause now, cause now the catalysts that are affecting home are more internal. That is a bigger issue to deal with if you got the housing market, hella people foreclosing on homes because people who can't afford them got a couple stacks to put on a house. Now they can't afford the mortgage after living in it for a couple of months. Would you rather have that on a mass scale because they were given money, or would you rather have these tariffs? And that's just a minor example. There's
I ain't
several
gonna
other things that I
lie.
think could happen.
I ain't gonna lie. I'd rather have them go outside because then you
That's
know
crazy.
no, it's not. But you gotta look at it like this.
That's
No,
crazy.
you gotta look at it like this. If how we plan to we giving all these people money that they can't necessarily afford home ownership, because once you buy a house, you find out it's more than just
It's way more than that.
so in regards to artificially, pushing home ownership, artificially propping up the stock market, artificially doing all these things. Yes, you probably could have still got to, some of the unemployment, some of the higher inflation, some of the foreclosures, this, and that. But, it would have been a whole class of people that could come in and take advantage of that via, buying up that real estate, doing this, doing that. Whereas now, the asset class, granted, you'll still have your high income owners able to do that. But like you said, it different. It's eliminating the middle class from being able to take advantage of those opportunities. We are now no
Both
listen.
sides.
No, we was talking about them being the ones to take the L. Now it's the middle class is getting booted out.
That was gonna happen anyway.
Was it though?
Bro, because
They scale?
if you hold on. If you listen to what she said, Kamala said, most of the people that were going to be qualified for the handouts that she was gonna give, that occurred. They were in the lower middle class, right? So upper middle class, fam, you wasn't gonna get that opportunity anyway. So
Okay, go
why
ahead.
you complaining about that? And it was going to affect you regardless. Now on the tariff side of things, you mean to tell me you don't think Trump's boys, the people with hella bread, ain't licking their chops
And that's the problem. That's the
right
problem.
now? But them is the same people that would have been doing that with Kamala.
We could have got
So
some of
what's
that
the
too.
difference?
We could have got some of that too. And then, bro,
Hey,
white
hey,
people,
hey, I ain't checking your pockets, but
hey,
I could have sworn you taking advantage of this right here. I could have sworn you're taking advantage of the current market conditions, and
yeah,
you
but
not no more. Okay, then.
it's not from a sick place. It's not from a, oh, I want you to fail so I can take advantage of your pain.
But that's how the markets move regardless. Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Okay, but what's one of the biggest pros to being a federal government employee?
I don't know because I've never
Job
worked as a
security.
federal government.
Job security.
Right. But do you think federal government employees being reckless, if they truly are,
Oh, no, no, no. Hey, are
should
they the
be
ones
able
being reckless, or are they following orders?
fam, your department is reckless. Therefore,
Yeah, but they don't follow.
unfortunately, your department's budget includes your salary. You're getting the boot. That sucks. But fam, if my team, if my department underperformed year after year after year after year, dog, there is no mobile application digital department at my job.
But who
None
said
whatsoever.
who said these organizations were underperforming?
Bro, he quite literally they listed out that it was underperformance, it was
What?
budget reasons and several other things. They specifically mentioned underperformance, lack of performance. They mentioned the budgets. They mentioned allocating dollars to paying people's credit card bills, having $10,000 to swipe on any credit card, and the expenses in which they were utilizing that privilege on were kind of questionable.
Okay, so
Kind of questionable.
are we over? Because granted, I told you I talked to somebody that's very well connected in the space. Are we over sensationalizing, a few instances that he may have found and blanketing all of these organizations with the same type of thing?
There's a
Because
chance for that.
some of these
Yes.
that I've heard losing their jobs, not the case. Very essential work, very highly technical skill. Me personally, people I know, especially one extremely close, works extremely hard, a lot of hours, been doing it for a long time, very meaningful work, people in their department losing their jobs. And if I said the department right now, people would be like, ain't no way in hell nobody in that department should be losing their job.
Right.
I,
No, I definitely think I would agree with that. And unfortunately, with these types of efforts, it's like a shotgun effect. It's not precise. It's not like a sniper shot, you know? So unfortunately people get caught in the crossfire and that shouldn't be.
I think
So I
that's
would
the,
definitely agree with that.
I think that's just the issue I have. I don't like all the collateral damage, man. Because at the end of the day, we can talk about benefiting from the market and taking it back, but at the end of the day, when we see this red, we see these job numbers, you know, I tend to step back and realize that you know these are real lives that are being affected.
Right.
And,
Right. Absolutely.
one day you find, one day you can wake up, and it's you on the other end of that. So I that's the only thing that bothers me about it is the fact that you know, and of course, the last crazy crisis, we was kids, we wasn't,
Right.
worried about really thinking about it. So I think that's just the part that sucks about it, and you know, take
Yeah, I
advantage.
mean, it's hard to take the emotion out of it, especially when it start hitting home, right? Um, so it's easier said than done. For me, I don't know, I just have an understanding that unfortunately, whether agree with it or not, this is how stuff works, and these are how the economy works. It don't discriminate. Anybody can get it. And this also it just highlights an importance and why it's so important to be self sufficient. Um, Not everybody is readily able to do that, but getting to that point, in my opinion, especially during times like this, should be at the top of everybody's mind. I'm always thinking about how can I lessen my dependence on my 9 to 5. That's just me. Um, and not everybody thinks that way. But whenever those times do come, and if you're directly impacted, you got something to fall back on. You're not really worried about losing your job because you got other means to go make some bread. Other means to put food on the table and provide for your family. Um, but that's I don't mean to come off uh lacking emotion on the situation. It's just the fact that unfortunately, whether I like it or not, this is just how I go.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, it just amplifies the importance of being fiscally responsible and investing and planning while you're up. So that
Right,
if does come a period in your life where you're down, you happen to get laid off, there happens to be a gap in unemployment or anything like that happens, you're not caught with your pants down. You're
right,
prepared. You can buy yourself some time. If you did need to, dip into some of your assets, and you've even talked about other means of, generating a yield off of your assets without actually selling the principal. So it's just a lot of different ways, and that's kind of why, a lot of the educational content and a lot of things we talk about are important, for times like this. You
hmm
know, whether we want to believe it or not, there are people out there that they don't care what the economy does. They don't care if they lost their job tomorrow because they have a net worth of millions of dollars in the markets
right.
sitting, generating money, and they're good. They're fine.
Right. And this circles back to the beginning of the episode. This is why you always gotta have a hedge. I don't care what you say. You don't never know what's gonna happen. Right. And like now, there's times in the market where it ain't looking too good, but you still need to maintain, need to at least tread above water. So gotta have a hedge, man. I don't care what nobody says. Gotta have a hedge. And having a hedge is not the fact that you don't believe in your main investment. It's just the simple fact that you being realistic and mature enough to have a just in case.
Yeah. And gold, for people right now that may want to take some profits off the table, gold may not be a bad investment vehicle to roll some of those profits into. Not only to preserve, some of that money, but as like we just said, gold is up 11 some percent this year. So not only would you have been preserving, some of those profits, it would have grown as well. So something to think about, rolling. If y'all are taking profits, not just letting it sit in cash or not letting it just sit on the side, rolling in gold. It's something that you may not necessarily have to worry about it having these big pullbacks and could potentially continue to go up as the year goes by.
Right, right, right. But man, that's about it, bro. That's a good episode. It was a good episode. We ran through a lot of topics in a very short amount of time. Honestly, we kind of went longer than what I expected. Now I'm looking at the
And, we
time.
got to, and I
But
mean, we talked about a lot of things. We kind of touched on the stock market. I mean, things is down right now. But like we've said before, zoom out. Don't just you get to look at it. If you have individual stocks in your portfolio, like man, my Tesla down 42%. Man, my Amazon down 10%. Apple down 11. Nvidia down 19. Google down 12. Meta, we just talked about it was up what like 14.50. Now they only up 3% year to date. So you look at these individual stocks and you think, man, like stock market is ridiculous right now. But when you zoom out and look at it as a whole, the S&P 500 is not even down 10%. So the stock market is not doing as bad, as we think. The Nasdaq has been hit a little harder, but I'll say that I think a lot of the prices that a lot of these assets are at are where they should be. You know, and like I said before, man, dollar cost average, buy these dips responsibly. As reassess, have the fundamentals changed? Are these tariffs, trade, supply chains? Is this something that's really affecting the mode of my company? Is this something that that a company I may be invested in? Are they deeply affected? Do I need to reassess? How much exposure I have to this sector? Is AI? Are we starting to see AI kind of scale back? Should I be rolling some money into this sector or that sector? You know, assess, reassess things, slow down, don't start panic selling, don't look at the news, be like, oh man, I gotta sell everything. Because if we see 1 minute the tariff is this, 1 minute it's not. One
Hmm.
minute situation, 1 minute it's not. 1 minute Bitcoin is falling, and we could wake up the next day and Bitcoin is at all time highs. Don't be emotional. A lot of the short term price action, like we've said, if you're investing for the long term, doesn't matter. Find quality companies, find quality assets, digital stocks, whatever it is, gold, and invest in those things for the long term.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we're gonna wrap it up there, man. There's a couple topics we didn't get to, but we can always circle back in a different episode. But man, that being said, man, just keep your head on the swivel, pay attention. Don't invest emotionally. Buy the dips responsibly, like you said, and man, don't forget about a hedge. I'm not gonna get off that.
Hey,
Don't
with
don't
that,
don't. I'm not getting off that. That's crazy. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the episode, man. We'll see y'all again in the next one. Peace.